Today, my co-host Kayla and I will be interviewing a rock in the voiceover industry. A rock, of course, being a rock star, as today's guest has left an impact in many facets of the industry and fandoms. Known for roles such as Hawkmon in Digimon Adventure, Lord Balgron in Digimon Fusion, Optimus Prime in Robots in Disguise, and Emperor Zarkon in Netflix's Voltron, our guest is beloved by many fans of animation. Add-in roles in movies and games such as Digimon the Movie, the Bleach films, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the Movie, Gears of War, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, Star Wars The Old Republic, and Knights of the Old Republic, Starcraft 2, and various Spider-Man titles, and he's even playing the villain in a much-anticipated release of Bungie's Destiny 2. Our guest tonight, voice actor with the legendary voice, please welcome Mr. Neil Kaplan.
Hi.
Oh my gosh.
So
this is gonna be great.
So when Kayla became my co-host in January, the first thing she said to do is get you on the show. Like literally the
This
first
is
thing.
true. This is true.
Why is that?
You and I went round and round on Twitter really late one night in December.
Wait,
And
hold on. This is a G-rated show, right? I mean, this is all above board.
I would hope so.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank
you. I was sweating with the implications of what you were saying. So we were going round and round one evening in December on Twitter about.
Yes. Oh gosh, it started with Voltron and it ended with regular show.
Oh, okay.
And you said something to the effect of wrong show, and I said it's called regular show. And I'm pretty sure that's where it ended. And I immediately told Jeremiah, I was like, we've got to get Neil Kaplan on the show.
So I mean, besides the fact that I am just Twitter par excellence, as far as I seriously, pound for pound, give you your money's worth on Twitter, entertainment-wise.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
I think it makes the subscription, the annual subscription fee, well worth it.
I think between you and DC Douglas, I'm fully entertained on Twitter with voice actors.
Oh, he's dangerous. He's dangerous. Actually, if you're not following Josh Keaton, you're missing out. He's
Spider-Man.
He's a very entertaining young man.
He's Spider-Man, of course.
Yeah, and the Green Lantern and Shiro and
insert several hundred things.
Yeah, he has this great hero voice, pretty classic. So I'm still trying to figure out, besides my Twitter extremism, what was the reason that I had to be on the show?
Well, on my side,
you're so entertaining. On my side, what about you, Jer?
Well, I'm sort of collecting voice actors. You're number 70, and
70?
I looked on your list of everything, and basically you've been in out of the things that I have to watch with my children now, and the things that I watch for fun. You've been in about half of the things I've been watching the past several years. From Digimon Fusion,
thanks.
I own the original Digimon. From Transformers Robots in Disguise to I play way too much Starcraft 2. I guess it's not.
There's
too
no
much.
such thing as playing too much StarCraft 2, young man. You just keep it up. Are you still married?
Yes.
Then you're not playing too much.
Touche.
That's the sign right there. If you have to go to counseling, you might be playing too much.
Well, the good news is he's studying. He's in grad school for that right now.
To study counseling, actually.
You'll know where to find the good people, Jer. You're already in tune with the.
Exactly. Go ahead and post on the message boards. Hey gamers, need some help explaining to your spouse what it is that you do with 19 hours a day?
Call me.
Exactly.
I can just see it now.
For one payment of $999, I will.
Just specialize. I'm just saying.
Oh God, $1,000. That's like a third of one grad class here.
Ooh,
and where is there? Can you say?
I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
Protection.
No, thank God.
Right.
And I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Nice. Talk about your extremes, people.
Well, Flagstaff isn't that hot.
What?
Flagstaff's not hot.
Isn't that hot.
We get more snow here than I did growing up in Alaska with her.
Yes.
That's got to do with the turning of the globe and how the polars are shifting and the thingies are happening.
And the 7,500 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the mountains.
That.
You gotta use the other baking directions when you're making things there.
It doesn't work.
Oh right, the high elevation one.
Yes. Yes.
You will ruin your cookies if you bake them as though you are living at sea level.
I basically just ruin everything I bake here because
Really?
I don't have
skills?
skills. No, not really.
Right, well, at least you're charming, so that helps. You know?
Or I'm tripping over
Did I say
toddlers
that
while
with a
doing
straight
it.
face? Hey, there you go. Careful, don't land on them.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Jared, you might not know
Buster's
this,
chiming in.
but Neil is a big musical theater fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I took a cruise. I did an Alaskan cruise. So we went to Anchorage a couple of years ago, and I did a
Oh, really?
I did a 1-day signing at like one of the 2 comic book stores in town.
Oh, there's only
and
the
for-
one, so I know which one it is.
Bosco's?
They've got
well,
2
there you go.
locations.
Is it
Is it
Bosco's?
Bosco's?
Yeah.
It was Bosco's.
Yes, it was Bosco's. Yes.
We've only got the one.
Okay.
I did
Yeah.
that cruise as my honeymoon, actually, because it was cheaper to take a cruise to Alaska to see my family than it was to fly.
Yeah. I
'Cause-
can believe that. No, we had a great time, but what was interesting is like I woke up so early in the morning, or I actually went to sleep so late the night before. Woke up, went to Bosco's, and I swear I looked at the sign, and for a moment I thought it said "Act Your Age," and I thought, well, I'm not supposed to be here then.
Whoops.
But no. So I was at Bosco. There you go. See, we're like we're like buddies now. We're practically neighbors.
best friends.
Practically, yeah.
Did you get to do anything else fun in Anchorage?
Nope. My
Nope.
wife went to the CVS and got as much makeup for the week as she could, because even though we packed, a couple of bags and took lots of clothes and lots of stuff, she left her toiletry bag behind. So I was like,
Oh, I've done
"Ooh."
that. Ugh,
Yeah,
I've
so
done
it's like,
that.
what am I going to need on the cruise, and what can I get at CVS?
Oh,
so
And stuff on cruise ships is so expensive. Oh my gosh. I mean, we've all been on cruises, so we can complain about this. But I did one from Florida down through the Panama, it was from Seattle down through the Panama Canal up to Florida.
hello.
Oh my
Jeez,
gosh.
How long was that?
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
A week and a half, maybe. Thankfully, my grandma Jo, who just had her crazy high birthday a couple days ago, works for
Crazy high birthday. So what?
Yeah.
She's 74.
I think maybe further down that number, but I don't want to say because I don't want her to have her know I'm telling everyone on the internet how old she is. She works for Princess Tours, and so she got us the friends and family discount.
Nice.
So the cruise is actually only like $26 a day, and I definitely ate $80 worth of food every day. So
Good for you.
yeah, I was definitely
for you.
15 pounds heavier when we got back from
Take
that
it to the
trip.
man.
Yeah,
You go, girl.
absolutely. I was also 17, and I didn't know what sticking it to the man meant, but sure.
Hey, I'm 50 and I still don't know what sticking it to the man means. So anyway,
Oh, you just keep doing
keep
what
that
you're
between
doing,
us.
Neil.
thank you. But I'm mostly happy that you said you did a cruise through the Panama Canal with your grandmother, because that's not a young person cruise.
Oh, correction.
No?
I need to fix this. Both of my grandmothers.
Even better.
Yes.
Even better.
And my mother. There were 2 people under 18 on the whole boat, me being one of them, and the other was a total perv, and I wanted nothing to do with him.
Awkward.
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't talk about your co-host like that. You guys have become friends. You should cut him some slack now. Right?
Absolutely.
That's long since over.
Jared.
All right. So, is there a theme of this show? Is there do we talk about anything specifically, or we just ramble until you go, okay, go away?
A mix of both, though.
Okay.
I will say, I've been eager to have a good Digimon talk since I think it's been 2 years since I had Jeff Nimoy on, and I'm ready to have more Digimon, because you got to voice the villain in a show that when I started, I'm like, this looks weird, and the designs are odd with Digimon Fusion. And it ended up being my favorite Digimon show, and I love seasons,
Really? Why is
series
that?
1 and. I think it's because I own series 1 and 2 and try because that's the ones that fit together.
Right.
Because it moves faster. You know, the animation works really well, and it's the first one that actually has a cohesive story throughout. Like in early Digimon ones, like the main villain will show up in the last like 4 episodes of the show or 5 episodes of the show, and you're like, oh, that's what's happening. Well, this one there was a consistent villain pretty much throughout the entire thing, which was you with Lord Bagra, and you know it made more sense as far as an epic level of storytelling goes, and the character, you know, that you can actually feel for the characters. While the first one was kind of feeling out what it was and saying, "We're not Pokemon. We're not Pokemon. Don't look at us. We're not Pokemon or Monster Rancher. We're its own thing." While this one, you know, it moved fast, it looked great, and they really knew what it was.
1 and 2, that was the first 2 seasons?
Yes, Adventure 1 and 2 with the original kids that came back then for the recent try.
I actually liked season 3. I actually liked where
the darker one.
Where the digital world kind of leaked out into our world. You know, plus I played one of the creators of the Digimon. Got to play the big man, Babel.
Yeah, you did.
You know. So that was fun. Plus, I just liked that storyline that year. I thought that was actually a story that held up throughout the whole season. But that's just me.
I didn't watch that one until more recently because, you know, Digimon 1 and 2 happened in the States, and then 3 kind of it disappeared a little bit. And by then Dragon Ball Z was, you know, forcing me to watch every day at 4 o'clock because something might actually happen. And so,
but as we know, that's not the case.
20 episodes later, it did. It just took a while for that punch to happen. But but I did watch actually 3 more recently because it was on Netflix, and it's a little slower than I would like. But you know, back then you had to fill very long seasons with stuff. It's not like now where you can have a 4 episode thing and they call it a season. Castlevania.
Castlevania.
I call it a tease.
Was absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait for more. But oh my god, 4 episodes, not enough.
Nope, not at all.
No,
but
it
you know,
wasn't.
you're in animes, you know, like 13 episodes with Blade and Iron Man, and you know they shorten things to make it so the story moves faster now. While then it was you had to fill 24 to 52 episodes, and some of those seasons get really long, really long.
Well, you know, I mean, it's when it's something like, you know, Blade or Iron Man, and you know it's not going to come back for a second season. It's just one story. It's you know, it's like a mini series. Hopefully they tell a nice tight story and it works over the course of, you know, 7 hours, 6.5 hours. And I've never had a problem with those sorts of things. It's like, hey, you got a quick story to tell. And those are kind of fun. Sometimes when they don't have enough story to fill, but they still need 50 episodes, that for somebody like me, that gets a little confusing.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, you got to be the part of the original 2 seasons of Digimon with Hawkmon, you know, and introducing the world to a show that was bigger than Pokemon in the US as a show, while Pokemon, of course, had the Game Boy games and the cards that got banned as tools.
Don't I know it.
Preaching to the choir, Jer.
It was you know, it was fun. I mean, that character was a blast to do, and I certainly have good memories of working. I hate to say with, because you know, in anime you really only work with 2 other people. You work with the engineer and the director, and you cross paths with other actors going in and out. You know, but you don't really work with any of them. You know, so even though Steve Bloom and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn and Kari Walgren and a lot of really talented people were on that show, I just saw them in the halls. You know, I spent most of my time with Bob and Jeff.
Yeah, well, and Jeff did a lot of the writing and the directing, right? The voice directing for that show.
And so, I mean, Bob Buchholz did a lot of the directing as well. I'm not sure how much of the writing that he did, but yeah, it was a lot of time with the 2 of them.
Well, I remember
Jeff was always fun.
I remember Jeff was saying when he and Bob came in, they were originally, you know how they have all the transformations, and originally they were like having the person record the transformation every single episode is on, and he came in and said, why don't you just do it the American way, record it once and reuse the audio every time, so you don't have to redo it every single time they transform every single episode.
What a novel idea.
Now, if they only do that with, you know, the anime that involves lots of screaming, that could save some voices, but, you know. But I can't imagine having to redo the Digimon Digivolve into and do it every single time. That would probably drive me nuts.
Well, you know, when you sit there and you're saying, you know, things that you always dreamed of saying, like, you know, oh, come on, Digivolve too. You know, I mean, look, that's fun, but when you start talking, you know, like, Pulsimon, wings of love. It's like, what the heck is that? And how is that a weapon?
Or
what else?
Or in the first season, I used to work at a children's ward of a mental hospital, and I was showing them Digimon seasons 1 and 2. I got some issues in 2 because I'm not supposed to have talk about adoption with kids who are in a mental hospital because a lot of them are abandoned, and so we had to skip some arcs. But I believe it's Myotismon, the big devil one, and when he digivolves near the end of season 1, and you know the whole worlds merge with the sky stuff, but he has a head come out of his crotch, and just trying to explain that to a 7-year-old, why is there a head coming out of his crotch? I'm like, Japan, move on, just move on. I'm not even going to talk.
Different cultures, honey, different cultures. Move on.
It's an anime. It's what they do.
Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. It's fine.
It's a superpower. It's I don't know. Yeah, that creates a bit of a challenge.
It just blink and go. But I imagine when you got to Fusion and some of the newer ones, where they try to have more, when with Bogger, he's not like the normal Digimon where they say the same thing all the time, or they change their voice whenever they digivolve and so on. You got to play a more dynamic villain with that one, and I imagine that must have been a lot of fun because before that you played a lot of Digimon.
Yeah, but the thing about playing, the guest Digimon of the week is, I liken it to back in '66 and '67 when people around Hollywood would, go onto the set of Batman and play the guest villain of the week and camp it up.
I guess that's true.
I mean, sure, it wasn't, the classic style of acting, which is going to get you nominated for an Emmy or an Annie, or get recognized by the industry as a whole. But it's fun, Then there's something to be said for that. Just go in and kind of, have a good time. We all grew up doing funny voices, and when you run across a character where you get to use that, it can be a good time to just kind of, chew on a campy line and just enjoy yourself while you're delivering it, and then go ahead and die at the end of the episode and have a cheesy death rattle.
What's your favorite campy line? Can you think of a really good one you've gotten to do?
I could not. Well, here's the thing. It occurred to me a few years back, because I do these conventions every now and then, and they're actors from TV, and people ask, well, what's your favorite line? How was it to read this line or say this? And I thought about it, and it's like, if they went on set and did anything short of reading it off a cue card, they had to memorize it. It actually took up space in their brain for a minute or two. Maybe it gets shoved out later, maybe it sticks. Voiceover actors go in at this stage of the game, the iPad is open on the music stand. I mean, there's not even a sheet of paper anymore sometimes. And you go in and you read it. So it spends so little time actually in your brain. It goes from page to eyes to brain to mouth and out, and then you're on to the next one. That very few times does something actually stick. You remember the feeling of saying it, or the day, or the recording session. We had a good time recording this. I mean, I can tell you how I felt recording BioShock Infinite, or after recording Mafia 3, how I felt like I needed to squeegee myself with the horrible things I was saying.
Oh no!
I was playing a villainous thug, and in the game which was set in a racially explosive era. So I was saying things that I would never say in my real life. But in order for that game to work, that's what the character had to say. That's what the character had to do. That's acting. You know, the best example I can think of is in the film 42 about Jackie Robinson, and Alan Tudyk played a manager for an opposing team during a very racially charged period in which people were very vocal about their racism. And somebody had to play that part. Somebody had to step forward and put their face out there. And Alan Tudyk, fortunately, is a well-known enough character actor where I think he was able to duck any stigma that might have been attached to it, you know, as opposed to perhaps an unknown actor who then you put that clip on YouTube and maybe they can't ever break that, you know, but somebody has to play those characters if we're gonna tell those stories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean...
Well, it seems like every year you hear another story about another high school somewhere that the school's doing like ragtime or something, and they're changing the script and whatnot because of certain words being thrown around. And it's like, well, that's why those words are there, because at that time they weren't a big deal, and now they're a big deal.
Absolutely. You know, the idea that a school wouldn't want Huck Finn to be read because it's written with historically accurate language. And one of the keys that people miss is it is disgusting and you should confront it. And it's not written there in these stories to make people comfortable and say, hey, I want to emulate that. You know,
exactly.
I don't think there was anything in my portrayal of these villains in Mafia 3 where anybody's going to go, wow, he seems so neato. I want to grow up and be like him. You know,
I hope not.
I don't see that as happening. You know, and yes, if we tell stories or allegories, we clean them up too much, we run the risk of forgetting the lessons of the past. And I mean, we're living through an interesting period right now of trying to scrub things clean, dodge issues, etc. You know, look, I was a young man. You know, I did some things in my past that I wasn't necessarily proud of, but I don't think there's ever been anything that I wouldn't own up to, you know, publicly, and if necessary, apologize for. You know, there's something
people
to be
change.
said.
That's what time's for. I mean, if you don't, you're not doing it right.
There is that. There's also something to be said for taking responsibility for what we say and what we do. You know, and what we thought was okay to do in the 1980s, and we realize now isn't okay to say or do. Just because I drew cartoons in the 1970s, which somebody might look at now and think, hey, that's not nice. Well, you know, I was 7 years old. I was breaking things down into more black and white ways, and now I'm 50 and I see things in different shades. And please don't expect that I'm the same person that I was when I was 7 and I saw things in a more simplistic light. You know?
God. I'm with you on that one.
Look, we have somebody in charge who pretty much has said in their biography they're the same person now as they were when they were 7 years old. And that's probably the scariest thing I've ever read about somebody who's in charge of anything. And we'll just leave that at that. I don't mean to stir things up.
This is great. This is good stuff.
Without a format, you never know where I can go. And you guys have seen me on Twitter. You know, it can It can go from giggling about talking about Jabberjaw to
Oh my god,
busting
Jabberjaw.
somebody's chops pretty hard. Yeah, Jabberjaw.
I had a VHS of Jabberjaw growing up, and I was like, "This show
Oh,
is
good.
great."
Yes.
And my brother was like, "This is Scooby-Doo underwater," and I was like, "But it's better."
But it's a talking shark with impossibly strange, physical characteristics. I mean, he was huge up top and teeny tiny down at the bottom. He was running on fins.
I almost forgot that show existed till you said Jabberjaw just now. I just like flashed back to being like 6.
And Jabberjaw had a voice based on Curly from the Three Stooges. He was one of many characters of the day that decided to rip off Curly.
Hey, what sells? You got to sell it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not against it. I mean, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
So,
I'm not above it.
Mr. Kaplan, can I call you Neil?
You better.
On your IMDb page, there's like 3 pieces of trivia about you that are just odd. And
I don't think they're odd.
They just seem really specific. Is all this true?
Yeah,
are you a Clippers season ticket holder?
I'm not anymore. I used to be.
Oh no!
It's just that stuff hasn't been updated in like forever, which is I think the strangest thing about it is like somebody posted this stuff like back in 2002, 15 years ago or something like that. Nobody's updated anything. It's like whatever. But I no longer am. I got tired of just how bad they were year after year after year. I was actually quoted. There was a game against the San Antonio Spurs one day, and I got so frustrated that I started a chant which was quoted by both the LA Times and the Daily News. The they both got it slightly wrong. The Daily News quoted a fan as chanting, in parentheses, stink less. Okay, so they were giving you a parentheses for the word they didn't want to put in print, and the LA Times got it wrong by saying there was a group of fans chanting "suck less." I was so tired of how bad they were that I wasn't even chanting for them to win or do good. It's just suck
do
less.
Better.
No, don't even do better.
Just suck less.
Just suck less.
Oh my gosh, that's my new life motto.
Just
suck less.
Suck less. Clap, clap. Suck less. Clap.
Okay,
clap,
and
clap.
The second thing on here, it says, was at Game 3 of the 1989 World Series. Is that true?
Is true. That is true. I am staring at a poster on my wall of a picture that I took minutes before the earthquake hit, and I had forgotten about it, and I got some pictures developed, had this picture blown up into a 20 by 30 poster, and then drove all over California and Arizona, getting it signed by various members of the 89 Asian Giants, members of the front office staff, the 3 guys who were working ABC at the time. I got them to sign it, and it is hanging up on my wall. It is one of my prides and joy. Yes, I if you know anything about the construction of Old Candlestick Park, and I have no reason to believe either of you would, but I'm going to ramble on with this story anyway.
Please do.
But if you know anything about the old park, there was up in off of third base, in the upper deck, there was a big wall of glass behind which sat the press boxes. And I was sitting in front of that and didn't realize until like I got home that night. It's like, oh, that could have been interesting. I mean, this remember earlier I was talking about I was a bit more of a callous young man. This is a prime example of me at 22 as a Giants fan. The game was in San Francisco, and it was 1989. And so most of us had like portable TVs, to watch replays or watch the pregame or whatever. And after the earthquake, every signal was knocked out. Then 10, 15 minutes later, signals started coming back on, and you'd go to ABC, and you'd see a helicopter shot of the Bay Bridge, the top level collapsed down onto the bottom level. And this will tell you what kind of a callous young man I was, and how fervent a Giants fan I was and still am. I just stood there and shouted, "How you A's fans getting home now?"
Oh, no.
Yeah. Only later did I realize it was a little bit of a bigger deal. Yeah, I kind of felt bad about that one.
A little bit of a bigger deal than that. Okay, and the third one on here, it says you won $2,500 on Street Smarts.
Yeah, that was a game show.
Oh, I remember it. I was young, but I remember that game show.
Yep. I had a copy on my old DVR or my old TiVo, and I wish I was able to rescue it, but I wasn't. There was this one question, and I suckered the my opponent into challenging me on it, and it was like this question about Spock, and I pretty much trounced her on the one question and took such a massive lead and walked away with my money, which was almost as good as a couple of years later I won a couple $1,000 on Bingo America with host Patrick Duffy.
Wow.
Patrick Duffy, former man from Atlantis.
That is a name I haven't heard in so long.
That sounds fake. I know it's not, but it does.
Especially that man from Atlantis? That sounds fake?
No, just the whole thing that you won a couple $1,000 on a bingo show with Patrick Duffy hosting.
Oh, no,
this sounds like an SNL sketch.
Oh, no. I think, I can't remember whether that was before or after I did a convention with Larry Hagman. Okay, so if we really want to get all uber Dallasy on you. So I did a convention with Larry Hagman, and we got to be such good friends that he invited my wife and I to his condo in Malibu for the 4th of July.
Oh my.
And, we're like, we're like crossing the parking lot, and I look over, and there's a woman in a Mercedes, and I turn to my wife and go, "She looks like Linda Gray." Yeah. You know why she looked like Linda Gray?
Why is that now?
Because she was Linda Gray. It's like, that was a very surreal situation. It was a couple weeks before my wife and I got married. And so my wife's in the kitchen talking to Mary Crosby, who, sorry, spoiler alert, was the actress who shot JR. All right? If you don't know it at this point, tough stuff, kids. Okay, I just spoiled it for you. All right?
I found some cans of JR's beer at a local vintage shop. They'd been drained because obviously it would be gross and old, but I definitely found cans still in the 6-pack. It's pretty great.
I was doing some cleaning in one of my closets, and I found a couple of cans of Buzz Cola. So,
wow.
The scary thing is, the ones from the Simpsons movie that they did.
Uh-huh.
So
I actually lived in LA when the Simpsons movie came out. Man, they promoted the crap out of that thing.
One of them was empty, though.
Oh, no!
Unopened.
Is your closet sticky?
I don't even want to address that question. I don't even know what that means.
Big thing it's spilled in your closet, you weirdo.
No, but how did it spill if it's unopened?
Aliens.
Aliens.
That's what I'm saying. No, but that's what I'm saying. That's weird.
I want to believe it's out there. The truth is out there. Okay, sorry.
Thirsty aliens. Yeah. Thirsty aliens in need of a sugar buzz.
Oh my gosh. We're not even anywhere near the questions I was trying to ask, and this is great. I couldn't be happier with how this interview is turning out.
Good.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes when you talk to me, unless you corral me into something. So, this is how I handle Q&As at conventions. Is I just kind of talk until somebody pops in a question. So, please rescue me and ask something.
Well, my 3-year-old was in here, but he got distracted by shiny things. And
Nice.
he was going to ask, since he watches Skylanders Academy, but he knows you were in Skylander games
Yes.
as Batterson and Hatterson and so on.
Yes.
And he was going to ask with coaching. What's the difference? Do you do any difference when you voice a characters for a show that you know is going to be for kids and young kids are going to be watching it and talking to you about it versus a show that's is for adults like a lot of anime? Adults are going to get more out of it than a kid. Do you have any difference in approach for how you do it, or is it mostly how you approach fans when they come up and talk to you?
Well, I mean, I still don't understand this idea that there's a difference between animation acting and video game acting. The only difference, as far as I know, is video games more often than not you're reading alone, unless you're doing performance capture and you're doing the scene with somebody. But can you tell me that? I mean, I think the acting in Starcraft is pretty cinematic. It's pretty straightforward. I think The Last of Us.
I think it's not necessarily that the video game versus animation. It's more, do you change how you voice a character versus something that kids will focus on?
I got it the first time, mister. Don't jump in before I get there.
Sorry.
Anyhow, no, but here's the thing. I'm just saying that there can be things that are done for kids that are done pretty straightforward. They're not necessarily presented in a cartoony manner. Okay? I mean, Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph, I mean, is that a kids movie?
My 30-year-old husband was bawling his eyes out at that one, so I'm gonna go with a no.
But they're playing animated characters from simplistic video games, but they're Up starts as heavy as any movie I've ever seen. Okay, and the guy's a widower. He deals with that through the entire movie. What Ed Asner does is pretty straightforward dramatic acting. You just happen to have it mixed in with, "Hi there," So it's going to depend on who the character is, and it's going to depend on the style of the show. I mean, do I do anything different playing Zarkon, on a show that I think is kid friendly, even though it's got war in it. It's got it deals with genocide.
Yeah, Jared, that show is for kids, Jeremiah. Jeez.
But it's told in a way that parents don't have to necessarily address that in that way, and I'm not playing that villain any differently than than I was playing Gaul in the upcoming Destiny 2 from our friends at Bungie. Anyway, but it's the director and the script are going to help you know that context. I'm not dumbing anything down because the intended audience is 6 years old. I did some guest work on a show that's aimed at 5-year-olds, called Ask the Storybots.
That's
but
a
I don't,
great show.
I don't know that I was doing anything necessarily more different there because it was 5-year-olds as much as doing it differently because that was the style of animation and that's the style of writing. Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
One heck of an answer.
It's gonna be, that's something that's dictated to me by the creative crew. At this stage of the game, Snow White came out in 1937? So there's not a single person alive that hasn't had animation around for the majority, if not all of their life.
Oh, yeah, that was just the first feature. there was lots of shorts and stuff before that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that was, that had some pretty heavy moments. When you talk about the witch meeting her demise, I mean that's some pretty intense stuff. That's pretty dark. I mean, you look at, there are dramatic moments in all of those movies. There's some of the shots of the stepmother in Cinderella. Certainly Bambi, Bambi losing her mother. Spoiler alerts everywhere. Neil, stop it. But they all have this heavy material. They're not saying, oh no, this may be shown to a 5-year-old. Let's dance around this. And that's one of the things I hate is the fact that they buried Song of the South rather than have families show this and have a teaching moment available for somebody to lean over to a kid and say, isn't it horrible, this wonderful man who told the stories, somebody thought he was property? No, we bury it. And yes, it's a different era of filmmaking that they treated things in a more theatrical sense. It wasn't quite as realistically played, but that was the era. And the fact that we bury the Warner Brothers war cartoons, because we're ashamed of the fact that we were at war with somebody and so we demonized them. So
you have no idea what we're getting into right now. This is what my undergrad was on World War II cinema, especially Disney during World War II.
And these were made for adults and children to watch. And I think, and what I'm trying to say in my long-winded way around it is that the best video games are made for a wide audience. The best animation is made for a wide audience. I was watching a show the other day called The Loud House that a couple of friends of mine are on. And it was a lot of fun. And you can look at it and say it's designed for kids, and it's written for kids. But gosh darn it, with the world I live in today, what a great escape to watch, something that's kind of simple and written about a family and written about, kids, and ultimately these lessons are translatable to adulthood because we all want respect and we all want just a little bit of space and we all want our moment in the sun, and these things are still relatable to us. And you're making a mistake, I think, if you write something strictly for a 5-year-old or a 13-year-old or a 22-year-old or a 58-year-old, because you're cutting out that rare 13-year-old who's well-read and enjoys it and can handle adult material, or that 60-year-old who still likes to buy Pez dispensers, and wants to watch, president of a bank that wants to escape stuff, so they want to watch Ask the Story Bots.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing better than I have little kids, and there's nothing better than having a show that they watch that I can also sit there and go, oh, good, it's not a painful experience.
Absolutely.
And Storybots is one of those, or Skylanders Academy, or Octonauts, and stuff like that. Like, the well-written ones, you can actually sit there and go, oh, good. Because some of them are like, for example, there's shows that on Nick Jr. that just have, like, the baby voices the whole time. Like, I can't handle the baby talking the entire show with every character. It's like, I can't do this.
Right.
But Storybots is great. And there's some humor in there that they don't get. I get, but it's they don't get it.
Yep.
And that makes it better.
I can watch Warner Brothers cartoons, Looney Tunes that I watched when I was 8 years old, see the exact same joke and laugh at it now for a completely different reason. I laughed at it then because the delivery was great. I had no idea what it meant. Now I know what it means. And I laugh at it.
Like, oh, now I get
or
it.
When I was a kid, when I watched Tiny Toon Adventures, I'm like, oh, this is funny. Now I watch it, I'm like, oh, there's a lot more in here. Spielberg and them put a lot more in here than I thought.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
That's some good writing. That's some good fearless creativity, I think.
Great timeless stuff.
Speaking of timeless, we have to talk about Voltron before this is over because that's my fuel for making this happen, because I love that show so much.
Oh, good.
And Jeremiah has yet to see it.
I had a backlist. I'm cutting through it.
Excuses are good. That's
See,
fine.
superhero shows. I'm sorry.
All right, whatever.
Okay, so I asked you on Twitter how you get your voice to do that low grumbly thing, and then you said I talk, and I was like, listen, smart aleck. And then you actually sent me a nice video explaining how you do it, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah, my little walk and talk. Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
I think I need to do that a little bit more often. It was one of those days where it's like, okay, let me just try this, see how it goes.
Well, it's like I said, it's impressive to me that you can get your voice that deep and low without getting that glottal fry in there, because this is my normal talking voice, and I can't go much deeper than this, because if I do, I start to get that sound.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, this is my regular talking voice, and my regular speaking voice as well. Odd how that works.
Who knew?
But certainly not my English teacher. Anyway, enough about speaking correctly.
Did you have a strong Jersey accent, because you were born in New Jersey, correct?
No, I was only born there.
Okay.
I'm pretty much. I like to think of myself as dialect neutral. I believe that I speak as the dictionary would tell you to pronounce things.
Okay.
It's just kind of. I mean, I grew up in Arizona, in Phoenix, and then in San Jose, California. So,
okay. Wow. One coast to the other. Holy crap.
Yeah, but I mean, you can tell when I'm upset. And sorry about coughing in everybody's ear. That was horrible.
Yeah.
But you can usually tell when I'm upset because I sound a little bit more East Coasty. You know, I tend to, when I'm a little trying to prove a point, a little annoyed by things, you start to get that sibling-esque.
Yeah.
Start to get a little bit of that, wise guy sort of a thing. It's like, the situation right now is not one you want to jump into at this moment. Yeah, if you start to hear that, it's like I'm ready to put my complaining pants on.
See, my parents are from the Midwest, and I have a little bit of a Midwest twang, but if I watch Fargo, I will absolutely slip into it, and I cannot stop. It is my nightmare. I cannot hang out with other people from the Midwest because I will feed off of their ooze and such.
Yeah. Well,
before you know it, it's real hard to get out.
And then you have your milk.
It's, I mean, I could never do a Chicago dialect. It's really strange. And then one day I went to go to the movies with a friend of mine, and we went to go see Donnie Brasco. And yes, I know that Donnie Brasco takes place in New York and has nothing to do with the Chicago dialect. But I had a breakthrough. I walked up to the box office and I said, I'll have 2 tickets for the Donnie Brascos. And I swear to God, from that time forward, Chicago dialect, I think of like Dennis Franz. Dennis Franz. Dennis Franz in the NYPD Blues, or the Hill Street Blues, there. But no, it's really strange because I could never do it. It was like really weird, and I just walked up and said, 2 tickets for the Donnie Brascos. And from that moment on, like the Chicago kind of slide right in there, So yeah. What?
When you got the call that you were cast in Voltron.
Yes.
So Kimberly Brooks said in an interview with the Washington Post that she didn't get to see a picture of what Allura looked like.
Hold on a second. I just have to digest that phrase right there.
What did I say?
You said Kimberly Brooks in an interview with the Washington Post.
She did.
I get that she did. I get that she did.
Do you want me to cite my resources, sir?
No. I'm glad that you do. It sounds like a research paper concerning the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Which I also have an essay on, sir.
Kimberly Brooks in an interview with the Washington Post said.
She said she was pretty much done, almost done recording all of her voiceover work for season 1 when she finally saw what Allura looked like. Was that your experience too? And if so, like, how do you develop a character from just a script? Did you talk to people? Like, tell me about that.
I'm gonna ruin your second question. That was not my case.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I saw the artwork for the audition, And then when I went in for their first recording session, they had the same character artwork that that went out when everybody first saw like the little Zarkon trading card. He's there with his really cool cape, and that's what I saw. That's what I saw, and we. I think what we started off with was a little bit more animalistic than what we ended up with, and he gets there every now and then, but it was a bit more snarly, and so we developed something a bit more even keel, I think, a bit more in control.
Nice.
Okay.
But
this is the quietest you've been this whole interview, by the way.
Well, because, when we're talking about Voltron, I've got to sit here and think, okay, what can I say? What can't I say?
Oh, that's right, because season 4 hasn't come out yet.
There is that.
That's true. Yeah, Did you, I couldn't find anything about this online. Did you do the voice of young Zarkon in the last episode of season 3? Was that you also, or was that someone else? It's already out. You can talk about it.
I don't know that I can talk about it, so I will. I will say next
then
question,
don't worry
please.
about it. Then don't worry about it.
I will say next question, please. I figure if they haven't released that information, there's a reason they haven't. So.
Oh, okay. Because it's like the episode's on IMDb, and there's only AJ and Sean, who plays King Alfor, are the only 2 people credited on it, and I was like, huh, okay.
Yep.
But if you can't answer, don't worry about it. We'll move on to the next question.
I don't know if I can or I can't. I turn into a nervous nebbish when it comes into anything regarding an NDA. I got my butt fried for once tweeting "He lives."
Did you see the meme that came out of that?
Came out of what?
The "He lives" tweet.
Which one?
Oh God, the one, it was like, my dad was in a coma for 50 years and he just sent me this, my dad was in a coma for a year and he just sent me this picture, and it was Zarkon like photoshopped over some guy's face and it says "I live."
No, I haven't.
With an expletive after it, like it was an actual screenshot that someone uploaded at some point, but then it got hijacked.
Nope,
it was really quite fantastic.
I have not seen that, but I think I will in the near future.
So I have 2 listener questions that I think tie in nicely. One of them is, I looked up that you also voiced Johnny Bravo, a character that anytime I try to find the voice, it's always Jeff Bennett, who's actually been on the show. And he says, "Can we hear your Johnny Bravo so I could hear how it compares to Jeff's?"
Well, it's nothing compared to Jeff's. Jeff's a genius, for crying out loud. I got brought in to play 3 different characters on Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion. And, they just didn't have the money to bring in everybody to do their original stuff. So I believe I was Grim from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. And I was Aku from Samurai Jack. And so at the same time, they had me do Johnny Bravo.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Johnny Bravo's a really fun character to do. I hope he never dies ever.
That's another one of those shows that had a bunch of grown-up jokes in it that I did not get till I was an adult, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not a kid-appropriate show.
It doesn't compare, though, to when I was a kid and I watched Invader Zim, and I got in so much trouble for watching Invader Zim. And then when I was an adult, I'm like, this show's amazing.
Yeah, as an adult, I'm like, that's why I wasn't allowed to watch this. I understand. What was the next listener question?
So the other listener question is one that, I agree with, because I'm a huge Starcraft fan, and, I've talked to you about how, you're that first trailer for Starcraft, Wings of Liberty, this made me go nuts. And the question is, you voiced Tychus Findlay in Starcraft 2 Wings of Liberty, which is the very first character that we get to see when they announced the game and the world went nuts, especially the country of South Korea. Yep. When they did, first of all, did you know they were going to release that trailer when they did, and that you'd be the first person that is shown to the world?
Nope.
And then the second one
that caught me off guard.
Oh, and what a fun surprise!
And then the second one is, how often do you meet fans who are confused as what Tychus Findlay is? As in, he's a villain, but he's not a villain. He's antagonistic, but he's not. He's just selfish. He's a hero. How many times do you run into confused fans about Tychus Findlay and you have to correct them?
Not very often. Not very often. I mean, I've had the occasional Twitter discussion with somebody who mistakenly thinks of him as a selfish character. But it's interesting. I think for me, that experience of working on that game showed me the brilliance of Andrea Romano, because especially that last scene. I ended up seeing it later and really kind of realizing that I was playing stuff I didn't know I was playing. Okay, she understood how to direct me and kind of get a subtext happening without me realizing I was doing it.
That last scene made me into a blubbery mess. I'm like, oh my goodness, they went totally sappy, and the total sappy ending happened, and oh my, that last scene is one of my favorite scenes in video games. Period. It's so well done. It's so cinematic that made me wish instantly that we could have a movie or TV show or something, because it was all your guys' performances were spot on, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, no. That was some great writing to set it up. Definitely some solid writing and executing it. I ask fans every now and then. I said, "Do you know why Jim Raynor shoots Tychus Findlay?"
Deal with the spoilers, my God.
That game is so old now, played by millions of people.
I know.
You're fine.
I'm being a smart aleck. Roll with it.
7 years, but exactly. I'll take the heat. But do you know why? You played the game. You know why?
Well, there's multiple reasons that came to my mind. One of them, it frees Tychus from he's pretty much captive in a suit anyway and being manipulated by lots of people, so it frees him from that. And it, knowing where the series goes, it makes the ending possible. Right there. And I think Raynor would rather see his friend die as his friend than, do something he's going to regret ever and become a bad guy. And so we kind of ended it there. And then
you're on the right track with the first one, as far as I'm concerned. Raynor does it because Tychus lets it. At that point in time, the whole thing calls into question Tychus's morality or lack thereof, which people like to think it's the latter as opposed to the former. But in fact, what it shows you about his moral compass is that he'll use a friend if he understands that the end goal, if the result was worth it. Okay? So if they get there and the Queen of Blades is there and the artifact doesn't work because Tychus thinks it's all hooey anyway, but they get there and he's finally able to pump some slugs into the Queen of Blades and the terror around the galaxy, well, then he's a hero and he's a rich man. Great, fantastic. Yeah, his best friend's going to be upset with him, but he'll get over it. Shut up, kid. Anyway, Uncle Neil's talking.
Oh my gosh.
So
everyone's favorite space uncle.
So when he goes in the cave and he sees Sarah Kerrigan, he's not prepared for that. That possibility never occurred to him. And Sarah Kerrigan, as far as he's concerned at that point in the story, had nothing to do with the Zerg destruction. She was an innocent victim. As much, I know it's a big surprise. I know, I get it. This stuff is mind-blowing, kid. I get it. So she's innocent. She's a victim like anybody else. Why would he pull the trigger and kill her? He's an anti-hero. He just wants to. It's like Han Solo. He just wants to sit in the bar and have a drink and have everybody leave him alone. The problem is when the settlers come in and say, you know, the Tuscan Raiders are overrunning the settlement. Somebody help us. And all the quote unquote good guys, you know, they take a moment and they stare down into their drinks, or they look away, or they pretend they're deaf, you know, and they do whatever to avoid confronting the evil that's out there. And it's the anti-hero that slams down the drink, you know, puts the glass down, mutters a few choice words, grabs their Gauss rifle or their laser blaster, and heads out to do what needs to be done. You know, they're the ones that don't want to be there, but can somehow still, through the course of the story, be counted on to save the hero, to save the Death Star. I mean, blow up the Death Star. Sorry, spoilers everywhere. Just deal with it.
Oh
40 years
no!
old. It's 40 years old.
Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. I saw Star Wars in the theater. Just here it comes. Here it comes. Neil, did you see Star Wars when it was in the theater? When it first came out?
Person who didn't even exist when Return of the Jedi came out.
Also true. You are stating true facts here.
Yes, I know. Me and Math, we as pals. But so getting back to that whole thing, if he doesn't pull the trigger, Manx kills him. And then he dies at the hands of somebody he hates. And it's like, you know, I'd rather go at the hands of somebody I love and who loves me rather than let this a-hole win.
That's awesome. That is fantastic.
And so he, damn shame. You know, this is how it's got to be. You know, because Tychus had him in his sights. He could have killed them both and been a rich man, but then he would have killed his best friend and an innocent woman. Not exactly how you want to spend your Saturday afternoon.
That's awesome. And the one more quick question about Tychus, since this person has a little, he sent it to me over multiple texts. The last little thing just says, you know, I've heard you have a lot of fun while recording, and you always mention, you know, some of the roles that you have where you just go there and just have fun. And earlier in this interview, you mentioned, you know, just having fun with a lot of them. He asked if there's a level on there called Media Blitz where you as Tychus, get to ride around on a giant mech called the Odin, where you basically just blow things up and laugh about it the whole time. He's just asking if, for you, that was one of the more fun things to do while recording for that game, because all you got to do is blow stuff up and laugh maniacally.
I'll guess and say probably. And the reason that I say that is because, you know, he knows it in the reference of the game. I might have had a great time, but I don't know it as that's the mech, you know, specific. I'm sorry.
My 1-year-old got in here.
I'm doing the best I can answering these questions.
Young lady.
Okay. Wow. Tell your kid not to be so harsh, man.
The worst critics are children, man.
I want an answer. But, you know, I would say anytime I'm recording something like that, it's fun. You know, I mean, certainly the one specific thing that I can tell you that was most fun was what was released earlier this summer, the little short that we recorded for Hell, It's About Summertime. You know, that was a blast. That was just an afternoon of fun. That was, you know, and there is a version of that only exists at Blizzard, because there are some curse words in there that they bleep out, and so the best way to do that is to actually say the curse word and actually bleep it out. So then they just wanted a version where it's like, okay, swear a little bit, and we'll have a bunch of bleeps. And so I recorded the whole script from top to bottom, and I must have cursed probably I want to say about 120 times.
So how do I get this job?
You got to work at Blizzard, I guess. But
oh my gosh.
I think I'm not sure if they passed it around as like you know, turn Tychus loose in a recording studio and see what happens. You know, but that was a fun day, and another fun day with Tychus was recording Heroes of the Storm, the first time that we recorded Infested Tychus, because I found out they were going to do a special effect in post-production, and so I kind of took it as a challenge and said, why don't you see what I do first? And so I did this weird thing that they liked so much that they didn't do any post. Yeah, it was amazing. It was. And they put like no effect on it. I ripped my throat to shreds, but it was okay because it was for my art, man. It was for my art.
Oh, it's not art unless you're suffering a little, right?
I guess.
I guess.
But when you're doing voiceover, the suffering is like, seriously, Costco bottled water? I'm sorry.
Couldn't even get me a sports top. Oh my gosh.
I don't want to inflict you with the harshness that is my life.
Oh my gosh. So on Twitter a while back, I asked you what your favorite musical was, and you answered with
Gave
at
you
least
about 30.
Yeah, you answered with at least 8, but possibly more. So
probably.
I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little chunks of lyrics from some of those, and
okay.
If you're willing to play, we will test your knowledge, and you tell me which shows these
Go
are
ahead.
from. And
give it a try.
Okay. So the first one is the snow may never slush upon the hillside. By 9 p.m. the moonlight must appear.
By 8 a.m. the morning fog has flown. Don't let it be forgot that once there was a spot for happily ever aftering called Camelot.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually gave you. I didn't give you the one with Jenny, and you were doing Guinevere, and I did the end with Wart. So sorry.
One of my favorite musicals. I love that show.
It's a good one.
One man may seem incompetent.
Hold on.
Okay, holding on.
When I was way back before you were even a thought in the universe.
Ouch. That's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. No. There was a tour that went around with Richard Harris as King Arthur, and in every city they would have a little kid who would work standby. They would hire 2 kids to play Wart because you couldn't tour with a child like that. It just, it was cheaper and easier to just hire a local actor, have him come in for the afternoon. They just do the one scene. Anyway, I babysat the kids, the standby, and got to watch Richard Harris do that show from the wings.
Amazing.
Awesome. And it was absolutely mind-blowingly cool. It was pretty incredible. So go ahead.
Okay, the next one is
the next lyric.
Well, our printing press has fancy fonts. That's right, we're fancy, very literary, theatrical too.
Welcome to the Renaissance.
Yes. You really do know your stuff. This is great.
Oh, please. Oh, please. God, I hate Shakespeare. Oh, no. I really hate Shakespeare.
That's such a good show.
I saw it twice. It's genius. And if you know anything about Shakespeare, you enjoy it even more. If you know anything about musical theater, you enjoy it even more. My wife sat there and was saying, "You're having more fun than me." And I said, "Yeah, but trust me, there are at least a half a dozen people in this theater who are getting so many more of the jokes than I am." Yeah, no,
right.
It's a brilliant show. I love it.
It is an underrated show. That show needs more attention. It really does. Because it's so funny and quippy and clever and just does not get enough. Hamilton stole everybody's attention.
Yep.
Not a bad thing. Also a great show. But
I will find out for myself in October. So.
Oh yay!
Unless we win the lottery and go beforehand. So.
Oh, you could just go on Street Smarts again. You know. Okay.
What?
One man may seem incompetent, another not make sense, while others look like quite a waste of a company's expense.
I'm trying to think of the lyrics to Brotherhood of Man.
Yay! That's exactly right. You don't have to keep going.
I know. I mean, playing J. Pierpont Finch was always a dream of mine, and now I'm way too old, so I'll have to play. I'll have to play Higley. Anyway, but yes, I love How to Succeed in Business, and you saw the pictures that Buster took, where he would have been perfect for the poster for how to succeed in business without really trying. So.
I did.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do one more. This one's a little bit difficult, I think.
Oh, this one? Okay.
I think this one's a little bit harder because this song is such a filler and such a tiny little blip in this show.
All right. All right.
Oh, hallowed halls and vine-draped walls, such proudly a sight there is. When gray and sere our hair has turned, we shall still revere our lessons.
Really, you're trying to pull something out of Wicked?
Yeah, I think that's a little obscure one. I think that's the one.
Really? Shiz?
Okay,
Dear old Shiz?
Name
Really?
some lyrics from that show you think are a little more obscure than that.
What would be more obscure? Oh, I mean, I would. There are a couple of songs there that I'm not a huge fan of, that I think would be less recognizable, but it's okay. You know, you were being kind-ish. You didn't, you know. I'll go ahead and I'll find some next time. I'll stump you. Okay. I'll show you how it's done. You're being kind. That's
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I just be warned. I did study musical theater performance, so like, be ready for that.
Oh, how adorable.
Starving actor did not pay well. I came home very rapidly.
No. I gotta tell you, if I ever talk to high school actors, one of the things I say when they ask for advice is, don't major in theater.
Oh yeah, no, I switched majors pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Not that history is like so much better, but at least I have some essays of it.
Anything you learn, if you continue to do shows while you're going to college, you know, and you just observe life and you learn whatever it is that you're studying, you'll still become a better actor. And you'll have something to fall back on to pay your bills while you're struggling, instead of, you know, okay, now that your student loans are due, how are you going to pay them? I'm going to do local community theater, which pays $20 a week. Yeah, That doesn't work.
Boy, I've been there. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, not a nice neighborhood.
It was actually, and this is super pitiful, but last year I did my first show I actually got paid for, and it wasn't a lot, but I was so happy for me. I was like, this is it. This is real now.
My first show that I got paid for, all they did was pay for gas, but I'll tell you what, at least it helped a little bit. I appreciated it.
Yep. What was yours? First show you got paid for?
First show I got paid. Actually, I take that back. First show I got paid for was Summer Stock, and I made enough to live on. So technically, which show opened first? I think it was Chicago.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So they gave you the old razzle dazzle.
The old razzle dazzle.
Actually, what did I? Oh, come on. What did I sing? I was just a little girl, maybe 2 or 3. I can still remember what my mother said to me. Put rose-colored glasses on your nose. Anyway, I can't hit those notes anymore because I was 20. I was 22 at the time. But yeah, I played Mary Sunshine. So I actually sat on Billy's knee during they both reached for the gun.
Nice.
Oh yes, 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 we both reached for the gun. Yeah, exactly.
So do you do theater anymore, or is that a once in a while thing now?
I wish. I'm actually thinking of putting together a cabaret show called Inappropriate Material, where I will sing songs for characters that I will never get to play.
I would pay so much money to watch that.
You know, I'll do like, thank you, child. I appreciate the enthusiastic cry of heck yeah.
Yes.
You know, maybe do like
Neil.
One of Jim's songs from Big River, or you know, I enjoy being a girl from Flower Drum Song, or Food Glorious Food from Oliver. Well, these are great songs, you know. It's just I would never get hired to play that character. So,
Of all
then
the
I think that would just be fun.
If I could
What?
play any character that I know I can't, I want to be King George in Hamilton. I know I can't, but God, that would be such a fun role because it's like 3 minutes of stage time. It's funny as heck.
Right.
But I'm a woman and probably will never get that opportunity. But like if I had to pick one obscure role that I knew I could never get, that would be it.
Okay.
I'd just like to be the common law assistant in the producers.
All right. Good.
Jeremiah
Yes.
and I actually did theater together in high school. I was in a production of South Pacific. I was Nellie. You were the main military guy, right, Jer?
Yeah, I was Brackett, the Navy
There we
commander. No singing, though. I was banned from singing. Lots of talking. I was a major talking role,
That
but no
guy.
singing.
Yeah, I always found what worked best for me was not dancing very well, so they couldn't put me in the chorus. So they would have me play the old man, the guy who
Jeremiah,
didn't
you know
have to
about that.
dance.
You mean
But
when they
that's
get to
not-
dye your hair and they said I couldn't cut my hair and they dyed it gray and
Well,
for
the
months?
the funny thing was when I went back from my 25-year high school reunion, and people said, "Neil, you look exactly the same." I said, "No, I just used to make myself up to look like this in every show that we did."
So every memory you have of me, I
Yeah,
look like this. So
Right,
thank you.
I had the white hair in the exact same place, and the wrinkles were in the same place. So
I had to live through my 10-year class reunion a couple months ago.
You poor thing.
I'm very proud of me. I did a good job. I ran out of excuses to not go.
Well, I'm glad you went. I hope you had fun. All right, so you guys have any more questions that are on your
we should wrap
path?
this up and
Yeah.
stop wasting Mr. Kaplan's time.
You're not wasting my time, but Buster's looking at me like, dude, hello, I'm going to be fully healed by the time you're done.
Oh, good. Good job, Buster. Proud of you.
I have one short one and then the final wrap up one. So
Okay.
the short one is, it's kind of funny you're talking about how, all these notes that you can't hit now, because the very first thing when I mention your name that someone says is, "Oh, the guy who plays like every Hutt in Knights of the Old Republic." And I can't think of a Hutt being able to say that high, anything that high, other than I guess the one in Clone Wars, the Zero the Hutt, the southern weird one. But you got to play lots of Hutts in KOTOR in Star Wars.
Look, as I like to say every now and then, it's because people were freaked out. First time I think a lot of people ran across my name, it was when they announced me as being Optimus Prime, and they knew me from doing Digimon, and so people literally thought they were going to get, Autobots, reload, transform.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kid liked that one.
Did it too.
She watches it.
Stuff along the lines of, like, how dare you, I'll smash you horrible robots to bits. Oh, dear me, Oli, what shall I do? Just be, just all that sort of thing. And they didn't realize that it was going to be, Hulkman Digivolve to Optimus Prime. It's like, that's what I do. So people kind of get a little tripped out every now and then when it's like, yes, I was the voice of sweet, innocent, annoying Hawkman, but I'm also the voice of the Emperor of the Galaxy. That's what I do.
And
So
your
it's-
versatility really shows.
I'm
But,
fangirling
kinda
so hard
that's-
over here.
That's what I was raised to do. I was just kind of brought up. I can't dance, and that's unfortunate, but I thought you were supposed to be able to sing tenor and bass and baritone. So, and then in my jazz choir, I was the only guy who was able to sing all three parts. Not that I can read music. Still one of my numerous faults and shortcomings. But I thought you were supposed to be able to do a bunch of dialects and be able to do all that stuff. And so I just kind of always worked on it. And I guess I had a little bit of a facility for it. And I'm just glad I still have most of my range. I can't do Beaker like I used to do, but, got to give some things up.
Something's got to give.
Yep.
So just before we wrap up, is it okay if we get a quick bumper so that we can put it on other episodes to send it straight back to this one so people can come find your your interview in the future?
I guess.
Just a simple one. Hey, this is Neil Kaplan, voice actor for, and usually we just have people insert some voices. And you can listen to me right here on Bombad Radio. That way we send people back here on both ends of the spectrum for all future stuff and even some past stuff, because sometimes I re-edit those.
Sure.
Yes, do that voice exactly. Perfect. Everyone will know who we're talking about.
Exactly. Hey, everybody, this is Neil Kaplan. You may not even remember me, but I was Bendak Starkiller years and years and years ago in Knights of the Old Republic. And you can hear me on Bombad Radio.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. Would you shut up? Why are you stepping on my stuff?
Sorry.
I'll let you know when you can talk again.
I'm already having to lean away from the mic to mask my laughing, and then you say stuff like that. I'm sorry. Okay, let's try this again.
Hey, everybody, this is Neil Kaplan, number 4 on the list of the 4 Optimus Primes. No, I'm not Peter Cullen. No, I'm not even David Kay or Gary Chuck, crying out loud. Anyway, I'm the guy from Robots in Disguise. No, not that Robots in Disguise. The original robot. No, not that original. The original wasn't called Robots in Disguise. The original was called Transformers. The original Transformers Robots in Disguise was, in fact, called Transformers Robots in Disguise. And I was Optimus Prime on that. You're not even listening anymore. Anyway, if you want to know this and many other things, check me out on Bombad Radio. Hey, everybody. This is Neil Kaplan. You might know me as Tychus J. Findlay. And if you don't, that's something you ought to fix. Really. Anyway, listen to me on Bombad Radio. All right. You need anything else?
No, that's good.
Is that okay?
That's fantastic.
amazing.
That is
Oh
fantastic. Even my daughter liked it too. She agrees.
Yay! Aurora, hey, baby.
So, if people want to ask you more questions and follow your stuff, where do you recommend that they go?
The best place for now is follow me on Twitter at Kneecap, Nekap. And eventually, when my website is repaired and up, you can find me at kneecap.net. So check that out. And if it's not up, well, you're listening to this in the relatively recent future. If you're listening to this in the distant future, hopefully it's still up. Now, if it's in the really distant future, I'm probably dead. But don't let that bum you out, because I enjoyed my time here while I was alive. So that's
it's
what
nothing
really matters.
It's nothing
What?
some quintessence can't fix.
Oh, that would be nice.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been fantastic and well worth the wait. So thank you so much. And Kayla, do you have any final words? Since
I
Sorry
do
to make
not.
you guys wait so long.
Oh,
Sorry
no
about
worries. We're happy to have you, and we'll be happy to have you again after season 4 comes out and you can talk about things more.
Sure.
Don't want to get you in trouble.
Trust me, I don't want that either. So, all right, thank you both so much.
thank you so much, and have a
Thank
good day. We
you.
look forward to seeing Destiny 2 very soon. Well,
Yes.
soonish.
All right, guys.
Thank
take it
you,
easy.
Neil.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.